Are we live? Yes, we be live. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How's our audio? Let us know in the live chat. Before we get started in the Q&A, so we're going to answer people's questions. We're going to first go to the Patreon questions, which were sent to us on Patreon, right? Remember, if you are a patron, every time we have this Q&As, we make a post about the Q&A on Patreon, and the patrons get to post their questions as a comment on Patreon, and those questions will get priority, which we have a lot of today. We'll try to go through them fast, and also so they get priority, but they also get to ask their questions even if they can't be here live with us, right? Some people are like, oh, I wish I could ask you these questions, but they can't join us live. So as a patron, you could just ask them. Yeah, I'm asleep, I'm at work, or whatever. So if you're a patron, you get to send your questions ahead of time, and then we'll answer. But after we answer the patron questions, then we go to the live chat questions, right? Music guy is saying audio and visual are good, fantastic, thank you. And then, before we start though, I have an announcement. And then I think Susie wants to make an announcement. Okay, so we have to thank Abdullah Samir because we managed to get one of the strikes on our YouTube channel removed because of Abdullah Samir guiding us through reappealing the strike. Okay, so we got a ridiculous strike on our channel, saying that we committed hate speech, and it was so bizarre that video got a strike on hate speech because anybody on their right mind looking at that video could see not only it was not hate speech, it was a video about protecting the rights of a minority, of a person who belongs to a minority group, to two minority groups. Okay. So we were, even though that person had committed a crime, I'm not even going to say it here, we were like, there's due process, there needs to be a court, people's, so we were saying we were protecting that person.
Take away people's citizenship on a whim.
Yeah, and that video, like that was the least hate speechy video on all of YouTube because it was the opposite. It was actually defending someone's rights, okay? So that video got flagged as hate speech, and we appealed it, and it was immediately rejected. But then we found a way somehow to do the appeal again, and Abdullah Samir walked us through a process that made the appeal be taken more seriously. I don't know, like he gave us a trick, and it worked. The appeal was accepted, and the strike was removed, and we just have to say thank you to Abdullah Samir.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you.
Yes, guys, go check out his channel. Abdullah Samir. Go subscribe to the Friendly Ex-Muslim YouTube channel. Show him your support, and maybe just leave a comment saying thanks for helping Atheist Republic.
Yes, let him know if you can, so he knows that he did, because I said, can I thank you publicly? And he said, like, no, it's not needed. Like, he wasn't doing this for any other reason than being a kind person. But then I got his permission to thank him publicly, and he said, fine. So, thank you, Abdullah Samir. Abdullah Samir is genuinely a very kind person. Like, genuinely a very kind person. Like, he gives without expecting anything in return. Okay. So, again, his channel is the Friendly Ex-Muslim. So go check him out. All right. So that was that. Susanna, you make your, what you wanted to say. And then, and also somebody saying that's awesome. Thank you. It is awesome. Okay. And then after that, we go to the Patreon questions. Go on.
I don't know if I should.
Go on.
Okay. Fine. I wanted to give my take on the Harris Sultan Daniel Hakikaju debate because I'm not available to join Armin for his debate analysis. If you guys want to see it, go check it out. He did a really awesome job in part 1. I really enjoyed that. And there is something about this debate that's been weighing on my mind, that's been weighing on my heart. And I think that Harris Sultan deserves to be personally cussed out for his opening statement against Daniel Hakikaju.
Wow.
I'm so serious. It made me so angry.
Wait, you have to tell people what this is about. Daniel Hakikaju is a Muslim. Harris Sultan is an ex-Muslim, and he's our friend.
Yes.
And this is a debate that they did. and it's the most talked about Muslim versus ex-Muslim debate right now, recently,
Yes.
right? And I am reviewing that, and Susanna has a criticism of of the ex-Muslim side, which is Harris Sultan, who's our friend. But yeah, go on.
So if you want more of like a criticism of this from a rhetorician point of view or from a strategic point of view, go watch Armin's debate analysis. Or there are other people who have a similar criticism of Harris Sultan's debate tactic in that opening statement, mainly that it was one giant ad hominem. Honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed with the ex-Muslims who have analyzed this thing with that I have seen, because I'm very busy right now. I don't have enough time to go analyze everything that everyone is saying online. I can't believe no one has specifically called out Harris for flinging in Daniel's face his familial tragedy. That is unexcusable to me. Okay, it's one thing, like, there's standard ad hominems. Like, I was kind of expecting that. It gets that way with these Muslim debates, especially with the men. Like, no offense, it just gets that way. But to take possibly the single most tragic event in someone's life and to publicly throw it in their face in a public setting and then use that to say, this is why you're like Stalin. This is why you're like the big H guy from World War II that I'm not going to say because I don't want this video to be deprioritized to hell. Okay. It's so viscerally disgusting. It made me see red, because within doing that, within the context of saying this is why you don't have empathy. The gall, the utter lack of compassion to take something, and I'm not going to talk about what it is because I have more respect for Daniel as a human being, just simply as a human being who deserves decency. I'm not going to get into what it is, and I would appreciate if people in the comments and the live chat don't discuss what it is because it's not relevant. But taking something that his family is likely going to grieve for the rest of their life and throwing it in his face like that and in acid to malign his character is horrific and disgusting. And I can't believe no one is appropriately talking about and calling that out as such. And here in the ex-Muslim community, which I'm not an ex-Muslim, but I consider myself a part of it because I'm very involved and I care about it. We often go, I can't believe, they came after apostate prophet's wife like that, Abdullah Samir's wife like that, Abdul Gondel's wife like that. I can't believe Hindutva did what they did to me, to Armin, to so many people. We criticize their dehumanizing, vitriolic, vindictive behavior. And then to see a major ex-Muslim do that to someone in public when it's completely irrelevant to the topic being debated at hand, it made me really upset. Because I don't like to see people treated like that. And I don't like Daniel's opinions. And there are going to be people who I'm not even like really interested in right now and putting on the asterisks on my statement and saying, oh, well, I disagree with Daniel on this, and this doesn't mean I agree with him. I'm not even going to do all that right now because it's irrelevant. I really feel like it was a horrible thing to do. And I'm bothered that people aren't specifically calling out that. The rest of the ad hominems and stuff, like, people are talking about it in general. But we need it. It really made me angry. Viraj is saying, and what if it's true? It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate.
Well, I mean, the point is it's bad because it's true. Because it was
I'm not going to say that, because then we're following to what you criticized Harris saying. You're psychologizing him.
No. The true part is not okay. Sorry. What I meant, the events happening is true, not what the conclusion. I don't know if it's true or not. Which is yeah. But no, I think the main pushback people will have against this, Susanna, would be people like, well, Daniel does a lot worse. They say, well, he has said a lot worse about other people. So it's only fair.
And we condemn him for it. And we say that's unacceptable. Daniel actually didn't bring up anything from Harris's personal life during that debate.
All right. Okay, Viraj is saying something in live chat. I want to now rant a little bit.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
Can I? can I rant about this?
Yeah,
Because this is so dumb.
yeah.
Viraj, you are so stupid. I'm sorry, Viraj. No, I'm not sorry, actually. You are so dumb. This comment of yours is so dumb, okay? You're saying, as long as you don't touch anyone, you can say anything you want to anyone. You dumb idiot. Of course you can. Are we saying you can't? We're criticizing it. Yes, you can say what you like. Are we saying it should be illegal? Like, what is this? What is it that when we criticize somebody for saying something, there's always this dumbest take of all? Sorry, like again, this dumbest take, Viraj, I'm not saying you're dumb as a whole, but this comment of yours is so dumb. It's so stupid. Like, when you're criticizing someone's take, why is there always that one person they can say that? Yes, and we can criticize it. They can say it, and we could tell you why it's wrong. If you think they can say what they want, then you should also think like, well, yeah, and we can criticize it. When is criticizing someone's opinion a suggestion that they shouldn't be able to say that opinion? How dumb of a response this is. It's so stupid. This is the dumbest take people have in response to you criticizing someone.
And there are going to be people who are like, Susanna, Harris is your friend. Why don't you tell this to him privately or personally? Well, this happened publicly. I feel like I should address it publicly. Because no one else is calling out that specific incident in the way that I feel like it deserves. To me, that was like throwing acid in his face in that moment. To take that horrific tragedy in his life and fling it in his face and say, this is why you're a bad person. There are a few things that could be more offensive and hurtful than that. Music guy saying, I think people are okay with it because of Daniel's past behavior, that he deserves it and so on. They shouldn't.
Yeah, especially given that his family wasn't involved in any of this, so you don't want to drag them in. No.
It's unacceptable. Right. I don't care what Daniel's opinions is. No one deserved what Harris did to Daniel in that moment.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, not no one. Okay, well, I mean, all right, sure. I'm not gonna nitpick right now. But in defense of Harris, he gets a lot better. His two openings were not so good, but overall, I think, excluding that, it was good. I think. Well, I go into.
I
much
didn't
more
like
detail.
The rest of it, actually, at all.
I think. Okay. Well, I am reviewing this debate.
People actually bringing up the specifics of what's wrong in Sharia was actually people from the Q&A.
Wait, what?
No, well, because I know we can't analyze the whole debate right now.
Yeah, so. Okay. Anyways, let's get to Patreon questions. Guys, if you want to know my views on the debate, I am reviewing that. I did part 1. It's going to be, I think it's going to be 6 or 7 parts because the first 20 minutes took me 2 hours to review and the whole thing is 3 hours. So if we go by the same rate, it's going to take 6 episodes. So you can see on the home page of Atheist Republic, you can find in our video section where part 1 is. And you can see when part 2 is coming on the homepage of the Atheist Republic YouTube channel. You could go find it over there and see when part 2 is coming. But yeah, I am micro-analyzing this debate minute by minute. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell to see when the rest of the analysis is coming.
It's really good because people who had major criticisms of Harris and his tactics, you're able to get more of the responses that you may have wished you had seen from Armin. So that's one thing I've been really enjoying about it. But let us get into the patron questions. Guys, reminder, you can become a patron and support us for less than $1 a month. And not only do you get priority in the Q&As, you get them answered even if you can't attend live, and you get the sexiest blasphemous art the world has ever seen. So it's very much worth the investment.
John Sturdnell is not in frame. No, this is
JSM. First patron question from Nivaga. I've done a bit of thinking and wonder if I could post the various reformist arguments on the Atheist Republic debate forums so it becomes a group thing instead of just something one person to go through. I'm asking if that's fine since it wouldn't exactly start a debate between forum users. I imagine it wouldn't anyway, but it's related to the make religion modern versus abolish debate. Which is what Nivaga frequently asks us about and likes to talk about.
Oh,
yes. I totally think that's a great idea. There's the forum on our website. I believe if you go look at our atheistrepublic.com/consulates, at the very top, there's a drop-down menu of international groups. And the masterminds group would also be a good, more debate-oriented group. And go check out our Discord. I think you'd probably get the most engagement. You'd probably get the most engagement on our Discord. Link for that is in the description.
right.
Second question from...
Wait. I want to also tell Nirvaga that I have just responded to him or her on Patreon, and I see some other patrons that I haven't responded to. The past few days has been very messy for me. So that's why I haven't got to some of our Patreon comments on Patreon. I am going to do that today, I promise. So that's the only inbox I respond to. The Patreon, I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to be more responsive on our Patreon. Sorry, Navaga. I knew you messaged me and I just responded to you and I'm going to follow up on it. Okay. So Patreons, and there's a few other people that I need to respond to. I'll get to you. Okay.
Yes, we've been very busy this week. Another question from Nivaga. Have you read this report? The religion seems to be declining quite significantly. And they link to an excerpt of a report by Ronald F. Inglehart. I've read a little bit of his work, and I remember reading an excerpt from his book that I think is now released. I remember reading this earlier when I think it was about to come out. And I believe we covered this on Atheist Republic News. So if you go to our channel in the search bar, search Inglehart, you'll probably see our coverage of some of his work and writing. But it is really fascinating. If there are people interested in a real scholarly, in-depth analysis of the decline of religion and the social factors implicated in it, and different trends and other things that we see in society, the multifactorial aspects of this, I highly recommend reading some Inglehart or going to this link, actually, that I just put in the description, in the live chat with this question, to go read an excerpt of it for free. Next, we have a question from Music Guy. And Music Guy is asking, Armin and Susie, what are your thoughts and opinions on Ibrahim Raisi's address to the United Nations General Assembly? Did you see this, Armin? I didn't get a chance.
Of course.
Yeah, you did. Tell us about it.
I mean, this was when it comes to Iranian circles, this was a major topic, right? You have so for people who don't know, Ebrahim Raisi is Iran's new president. And he's supposed to be a hardliner, even based on hardliner standards. And we had the UN General Assembly, which happens, when it comes to Iranian presidents, there's a huge history about them going to the UN and making a speech or not, and setting the tone of how Iran's relationship is going to be with the rest of the world based on the speech that the new president is going to make at the UN, right? So, and usually the tone and the topics that the president's speech was highlighting has been a good way to predict which direction Iran is heading when it comes to international relationships, right? So given that, Ebrahim Raisi seems to be very focused on being anti-American, which is which is and pro and maybe also okay. Let me actually be fair. Okay, very very anti-American, very very focused on criticizing America for everything wrong in the world, and also trying to say that Iran is going to try to be friendly to more regional players, like maybe an indication of a switch in trying to appease America more towards finding relationships elsewhere, right? Two things that it was interesting that Raisi highlighted in a speech was the attack on the Capitol in Washington D.C. What date was that? On
January 6th, 2021.
January 6th. Yeah, January 6th. He highlighted that as the American uprising, the American people's, as a way to suggest that American people are not happy. Like he was representing those people as Americans, like the American people, instead of like some right-leaning crazy people attacking the Capitol. He was trying to highlight that as a way to show discontent in America against their government, and as a way to say that the Americans are oppressed, the poor oppressed American people that are living under the tyranny of the American government, right? Basically, as a way to suggest like we're not the tyrants, you're the tyrants, right? So that's and also suggesting that Iran's government is going to be a savior of people who are being oppressed by tyrants and stuff like that. So that's one thing one thing.
What have they done for the insurrectionists? Are they helping with their legal fees? How are they helping out? I don't see.
Well, they seem to be promising that they will get there, like that Iran is going to be another thing that they seem to be the tone seems to be suggesting is introducing Iran. And I know this seems like you're going to think like they're delusional. Well, and you're justifiably so, but they're suggesting that they're a superpower, like that they are a force to be reckoned with. I mean, that's kind of maybe true in the region, but like they're suggesting that that's the case globally. That they will basically are there to, I don't know, break the chains of all the enslaved people from the tyranny of United States and Zionists, right? Of this global Zionist movement, and they see Iran as this liberating force in the world, right? Another thing that he wanted to highlight was, the failure in Afghanistan. I think he highlighted that. Okay, so it's very interesting because even though he had a very anti-U.S. rhetoric, he did also suggest that they're ready to go back to the deal, which to me was a shift in tone, given compared to what they have been doing recently. I think they'd be desperate. I think they're going to do some. They might want to be doing a mini deal, like a smaller version of like. I think they were like, screw the U.S. U.S. is evil. By the way, we're okay with doing the deal, but but we're ready to go back to the deal. But anyway, so that's another thing. That was a major shift in tone that from what they have recently been signaling about wanting to or not wanting to go back to the deal. Like it keeps going up and down. It's very weird right now. By the way, the deal maybe people don't know what I'm referring to. I'm talking about going back to the nuclear deal between the JCPOA. So that's what I'm referring to, right? So recently, in the past few weeks, it has been the Iran's government seems to have been playing it as if they're not even interested in going back to the deal. But now with this speech, it seems like they're now suggesting that they're ready. The main thing people are talking about when it comes to Ebrahim Raisi's speech was the fact that he didn't go to the event. And this was a video sent. I mean, the foreign minister went, but he didn't go, okay? The president didn't go, okay? And there are three theories for why he didn't go, Okay, and instead
This
sent a video.
This can run the gambit. I'm because
There's
some
three theories.
you told me about. I'm like, what the?
There are three theories for why Iran's president didn't go to the UN General Assembly, and instead they sent a video for it to be played as his speech. One, the test for, what do we call it now? The cove, the beer bug, the disease that is going around. Apparently, the UN has some strict rules for who gets to attend. Like when it comes to everybody needs to go through testing, and some people are suggesting that Raisi didn't want to subject himself to that test. Maybe they have these conspiracy theories or about what this test might actually be, or they find it humiliating or something like that. The second again, these are not my theories. This is what just people are saying in social media, and people are just theorizing. I'm just reporting to you what people are saying, right? The second theory is that given Ibrahim Raisi's direct involvement in the massacre in the 1980s in Iran of all political descendants, in Iran, the people, like, the numbers are all over the place. But there are thousands of people that were mass executed without any due process by the Islamic Republic of Iran, by the Council of Death. Is that what's the translation in English? Or that's what their name is, right? So Raisi was in that group of people who was directly responsible, in charge of making sure these mass execution takes place. It's documented that he was part of it. So some people were suggesting that if he goes to United States, there might have been grounds for his arrest based on, human rights grounds or stuff like that. And some people are saying that's not it because he has diplomatic immunity. And some people are saying, well, yes, usually people have diplomatic immunity, but there are some exceptions, and this could be one of them. And some people are like, no, probably he wouldn't have gotten arrested. He's the president of a country. He's not going to be arrested if he's going, even if he has committed human rights violations. That would be impossible. Some people are saying that maybe if the chances were low, but he didn't want to take the risk. Okay. The third theory for why the Iran's president didn't go to the UN General Assembly was that, and I think this is the most likely one, is that he can't speak. And that he has to actually read from a teleprompter. They're saying that the Iran often had a problem with their presidents sometimes like not being able to speak English very well, and that was embarrassing. But with this new president, the problem is that he can't even speak Farsi very well. He's very famously very uneducated, only finishing elementary school. And if all his education after that was just like in Islamic seminary or whatever, he doesn't seem to be able to finish sentence. Like, he's kind of like the jokes that people make about Biden not being able to speak. It's a lot worse for Ibrahim Raisi. He seems to like constantly, like, there are so many funny videos of him saying full paragraphs and nobody knowing what he was trying to say. And
really
mispronouncing words that are Persian, like mispronouncing Persian words. And they were saying that when he was reading the speech for the UN, he was reading off of a teleprompter, and he was struggling with just reading off of a teleprompter. Like, so he was even struggling with that. And people who are familiar with video editing, they prove that this 15-minute speech was taken probably over hours because they show how many cuts it was made in there. Like, they proved based on the echo reverberation from the area it was in, they were trying to show you that there were so many cuts in this video. Like, when they were making this 15-minute video, he probably made so many mistakes that they had to do it over and over again. And you can see that at the beginning of the video, he seemed like not tired, but by the end of it seems like he just finished like a 2-hour speech. Like, it seems like he was tired on one foot, and he was like switching between. So it was like people were analyzing the video, and like this probably took like an hour or something, this 15 minute. Like, so many people were analyzing it, right? And they were saying that the reason why they're not sending him out is because it would have been embarrassing for him to struggle with a speech live in front of everybody. And they're saying that this is going to be a source of embarrassment and fun for the next at least 4 years for people, because the government is going to have to struggle finding ways covering this up of how bad he is at giving speeches, and answering questions and stuff like
Wait,
that.
so I knew that he wasn't very highly educated, like middle school or something, right? Is when he was taken out of school to go to religious school? But I just assumed that would have an issue with literacy, like being able to read. I didn't realize that he had an issue merely speaking. I mean, he's in his 60s. I would assume that just throughout living life, you learn how to speak your language decently.
Yeah, I know it's not fair to compare him to Biden, because how old is Biden is hitting the age that most of so but Racy is a lot younger, so he shouldn't.
Oh my God, Biden is almost 80.
Biden is almost 80, so if he's having problems speaking, it's completely understandable. But Racy, how old is Racy? I mean, his job, his education is Islamic studies.
He's 60.
He's 60 years old. He shouldn't have a problem speaking like this. Even though his education is mostly Islamic studies, it's all Islamic studies. Part of Islamic studies is for you to be able to advocate for Islam and give speeches and do seminary work and give speeches to a religious audience. That should be a major part of your experience. So in fact, his education should make him have less of a problem with speaking, not more of a problem. I don't know.
When you listen to him speak, can you tell? What's it like for you as a native speaker?
I feel so. So I feel it gives me such a confidence boost, because for people who don't know, Atheist Republic has a Persian channel as well, and sometimes people make fun of me there because they tell me that I have an accent now, because I've been outside of Iran for many years, and I mostly didn't speak Persian for so many years that I have some problem with a few words, and I sometimes forget some sophisticated words. How do I have to say it in Persian? I have to look it up, and people make fun of me in the live chat. But now I listen. I listen to Iran's president, and he speaks he's so bad at speaking, and he speaks like an elementary school student in Iran, right? And I'm like, I speak way better than your president, so shut up.
Wait, have you said that to the Persian channel live chat yet? When they try to throw that in your face, you need to.
I should. This is a very technical word, and I forgot how to say it, and you're making fun of me for that. You're in no position to make fun of me. You're president.
Armin, that's not fair. They don't get to choose their presidents at all.
I'm still going to use it, your president speaks like a fourth grader, so I'm doing way better than him. So you don't get to do it. So.
Well, shouts out to the people microanalyzing that video, that speech, to detect how long it took to film. That's some high level. I love that. The dedication.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Any other final takeaways?
No. I'm just looking forward to seeing how many oopsies we're gonna see from Ibrahim Raisi's in the next 4 years. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways,
getting him in a live setting is going to be great. Next question is from Music Guy. What is the reason for AOC, meaning Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and the squad blocking funds for Israel's Iron Dome? They are now being called anti-Semitic. Do you know what the reason is? Because I don't.
Are they blocking it already? Or this was a while ago, and they talked about, unless this is recent, I remember they talked about suggesting that they should make the aid to Israel conditional. but it didn't go through unless something recently happened. Did something recently happen? If you're talking about the initial talk about making the aid on Israel conditional, I think it makes sense to suggest that a lot.
Okay, so 1 hour ago, the New York Times posted an article saying that the House approves funding for Israel's Iron Dome. The first news article that shows up is AOC roasted for shedding crocodile tears after crying over Israel Iron Dome House vote.
Okay, so for anything, okay, I think that supporting Israel with funds should be more conditional. I agree with that, but not the Iron Dome.
Not the Iron Dome. Okay, I can understand where the accusations of anti-Semitism are coming from. If you're going after the Iron Dome, are you freaking kidding me?
Why would you not? The Iron Dome is completely if there's anything from Israel's military spending that is completely justifiable and there's no excuses for not spending money on it, it would be the Iron Dome. It literally does nothing. It literally can't even be used for attacking anybody. It's completely defensive and it's saving lives. And it's not only saving Israeli lives.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not only saving Israeli lives, it's saving Palestinian lives. And I'm not talking about Israeli Arabs, because yes, it's also saving Israeli Arabs' lives, but it's actually saving Palestinian lives. The reason why it's saving Palestinian lives is because Israel's, again, I'm not endorsing this. This is horrific to even say, but Israel's calculation, and again, I'm making up numbers just to make a point, is that for every one Israeli dying, we need to we take out 10 of yours, right? Again, this is a very
that was basically the statistics from the last war.
Yes. So this is a very inhumane way of looking at it, which is how they look at it, and we criticize Israel for looking at it that way. But United States is calculating that we get to hold Israel back in killing more Palestinians if less Israelis die. So, imagine
bullshit. Why would you?
Is AOC being misrepresented here? Because I don't want us to go I just want to make sure that we don't go on full on outrage mode and then realize that
true.
And then realize that actually the whole situation was misrepresented. Okay, so let's if this is the case, if AOC is actually saying that the Iron Dome shouldn't have been funded, she should have picked something else. When we want to make aid to Israel conditional, it should be something else other than the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome is saving lives. It's the one thing that is only saving lives and doing nothing else but saving lives.
If what the fuck? Oh, I'm sorry, YouTube. What is she? What if people oppose the funding of the Iron Dome? What are they expecting? If they think that Israel's actions are outsized now, imagine if none of the thousands of missiles heading into Israel's airfield were not blocked at all. How outsized the response would be at that point. Are you freaking kidding me? This is in many ways, kind of like in de-escalating technology.
Yeah.
And also, it looks very awesome. The pictures of it in the sky are very cool.
They're very cool.
But that's not an argument.
Yeah, no. When it comes to military spending, this is something I support a lot, the Iron Dome. In fact, everybody should have an Iron Dome. Every country should have Iron Domes. And make it, I hope they get to make it cheaper. Okay, so, but I don't accept this anti-Semitic accusations. I mean, AOC's, I think, even if people have bad takes on Israel, I don't think they should be accused of anti-Semitic views, right? Unless they really prove it. It has to be. I think we could, even if it is anti-Semitic, we could tell them that what you're saying looks anti-Semitic without actually saying that we know for 100% that it is anti-Semitic. It could be genuinely just a bad take on foreign policy.
Well, yeah, but if someone is trying to defund the Iron Dome, I can see why there would be that accusation thrown way more easily than other policy positions.
Yeah, why the Iron Dome? Like, is that really like? Why would you be against the Iron
Can't-
Dome? I don't
It
understand.
can't be that simple. There's got to be something
Like,
else because
this is not just anti-Israel. This is not just anti-Israel. This is an anti-Palestinian position. This is a genuinely an anti. It would be devastating to the Palestinian people if Hamas or Hezbollah gets to kill more Israelis. It would be devastating to the lives of Palestinian people. Again, I'm not excusing the retaliation that Israel would do. Like, I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
It being even more exacerbated.
Yeah, I would condemn such a reaction. But again, and also if United States completely, again, this is one reason why Israel's government holds back sometimes, okay, from, as bad as some of the responses are, it's milder compared to what they would have done if they didn't care about what the United States thinks, right? So one reason why United States needs to maintain Israel as an ally is the effect some of the effect that they have on right-leaning people's, even, the cost that would be associated with violating human rights beyond what they're already doing, right? So take that into account as well. Anyways, I think we spent enough time on that.
Yes. Next patron question is from Ion. Ion is asking, do you think it's possible that in the future babies will be produced in incubators rather than wombs? And what do you think, how long will this technology take to come into the market, if it's possible? People are trying to develop this technology. It's like under works. I've seen prototypes of it. It looks very cool. Like, it's supposed to, I've seen like videos of these prototypes, and it's supposed to like sit in your living room basically, and you like watch your baby grow. I have no idea how long it would take for this to come to market. That would require me to like actually study this technology, but I do think it is possible, and I think there are a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, I don't think it's just possible. I think it's inevitable. I think it's definitely going to happen. Well, I mean, nothing is definite, and I think it's a good thing, and I think that it's going to happen in less than 50 years.
Yeah. Like, it would,
I think it's going to be in 50 years, yeah.
Drastically reduce like mother mortality rates, health conditions that arise from women having children that can be very drastic, life altering. Even it can help solve a lot of relationship issues of what happens when a relationship during pregnancy, possibly.
Guys, I don't know if people have seen a baby born. It tears the mother apart. It basically rips off the flesh as it's coming out. It's a nasty business. Okay, it's like
not every
a bullet
time.
size. Well, yeah, but it's damaging to the body every time. Sometimes less, sometimes more.
It literally cracks your hips open.
Yeah, it's really harmful, okay, to the mother, and it's better for the mother for her not to have to go through that, and for every mother, okay. So it will definitely happen. It will be a good thing. Some people would decide to stay traditional, which is fine. I mean, it's not fine. They're hurting themselves, but it's their choice. And it's also better for the baby. It's so much better for the baby because you get to monitor the baby much more efficiently. You're going to have sensors making sure the environment that the baby is growing is perfect. Like when it comes to all the hormones and all the nutrition that needs to be around the baby, you get to micromanage that. You get to constantly watch the baby grow and make sure there's no defects and there's nothing wrong with it. It's going to be the nutrition. You know how people say that the nutrition that the baby gets after it's born, the first 1 year is so important. Think
Mhm.
about when it comes to the brain development and everything else. Think about how important the nutrition the baby gets as a fetus, right?
Mhm.
And the level of control that the mother has over the nutrition that the baby is getting is just based on what she eats. But your level of control is going to be significantly higher if the baby is outside of the body and you get to completely control the environment. It's going to be so, I think it's going to have a major effect. Again, maybe I'm wrong about this, okay? But I think it's going to, when it comes to the child's development, making sure it's getting all the iron and all the, I don't know, vitamins and all the hormones are perfectly balanced. I think it's going to have a major effect. You're going to see a significant effect in the baby's health after you remove it from the machine. This is going to be so much superior than growing. In fact, I think we're going to get to a place where people can't believe that we grew these things inside of a human. They're going to be like, that sounds like a scary movie. Like, people are going to like, wow, we used to grow these things inside our bodies, like, and it just like it came out of us like an alien.
And for
like
thousands of years,
like that was
of
the
millions
norm.
of people died from the process.
Right. You know how we look at surgeries before and we're like, oh my God, that's horrific. I can't believe people used to do surgery like this. Or like they pulled their teeth out without anesthetics. We were terrified. Like, I'm
Pulling
so glad I don't
they
live.
used to amputate limbs without anesthetics.
Yeah, but most people didn't go through that. But most people did go through some tooth decay or something without anesthetics. With like, it's torture. It's basically torture. We look back at that and we're like, I'm so glad I don't have to live through that. That sounds barbaric. That sounds insane. I think people in the future are going to look at childbirth and they're going to be like, oh my God, these people actually had to grow a human inside of them. And it had to come out of this tiny little hole. This giant head had to come out of this tiny little hole. I can't believe they went through that. Okay. So that's what future generations are going to look at. Right. And I think we're going to get there very soon. It's going
to be really interesting to see how that impacts the hormonal relationship between mother and child, because that's very essential, even within the first few minutes of life, and how that changes and what the implications of that are, as well as how you artificially induce lactation. I think that technology is going to have to get a lot better, because lactation is actually how the mother passes on a lot of her like immune system, immunities, allergy protections to her children. It's through her breast milk. Like, we can't get away from breast milk at this point, I think. That's my understanding. So that'd be very interesting.
By the way, fun fact, a baby's giant head is why babies are born disproportionately relative to humans compared to other animals. I don't know if people know that, right? Like, if you see other animals when their babies are born, they're just like a mini version of the adult, right? Like, if you look at a baby horse when they're born, it's just like a smaller version of the adult, right? But if you look at baby humans, their heads relative to their body is so much bigger. Like, if you make a baby just bigger, it's not going to look like an adult. It's just going to be like a giant baby, right? But if you make a baby horse bigger, it's going to look like an actual horse, right? So the reason why babies are not proportionately the same, their head to body ratio as adults, is because our brains are so big, right? Because the brain is not going to grow, right? Not that much after we're born. That if you wait for the rest of the body to grow, so human brain relative to their body is so big that unlike other animals, if the rest of the baby grows proportionally to their head size, they will basically kill the mother every time they're born.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you wouldn't be able to get the baby out if their body sizes grows big relative to their brain size, right? So that's why humans have to get the baby out with a big head and a tiny body, because so that's the reason, right? Because we have bigger brains. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, we can't be born proportionally. We have to do so much more maturation outside of the womb.
Yes, exactly.
Because otherwise we'd be killing our mamas all the time. I mean, we already kill a lot of mamas.
Yeah.
Ion had another question, and he was asking, what do you guys think of AUKUS and why Australia doesn't develop its own nuclear weapons? Armin, can you please give a little background on what this is, what it means?
All right. So I'm just going to give you a quick response, quick explanation of what this is about, and a quick response, and then I'm going to tell you where I explain this in more detail. Okay. So AUKUS is the recent deal that Australia, United Kingdom, and United States did about a lot of different military intelligence and technology sharing capabilities that they're going to do. And the main highlight of it is the nuclear submarines that United States has access to, that has and technology that has, that is, they're going to be sharing that with Australia. And Australia is going to be getting nuclear submarines. However, your description of this is wrong, Ian. These nuclear submarines the United States is going to be giving to Australia, they don't have nuclear weapons. These are nuclear powered submarines that they do not have any nuclear weapons. In fact, Australia has an obligation to what is it called? The nuclear nuclear
proliferation
act. Yeah, I have that's a tongue twister. Yeah, the treaty, the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, the NPT. Okay, the NPT, the Treaty of the non-proliferation of nuclear
You
weapons.
got it.
So Australia is signatory to that, and they have obligations to. They can't ever have, because Australia can never have nuclear weapons, right? So these are nuclear powered submarines. They're that doesn't make them not significant. They're extremely deadly. These are submarines that could stay underwater for months, and they could remain completely undetected. And while they're undetected, deep under the sea, they could lay cities to waste with little problem, and without any country without the enemy being able to take them out, and without any help from home. Like if your country has that, even if your enemy completely destroys your country, lays it all, completely flattens your country, as long as these submarines are still floating around somewhere, they could take out your cities one by one. That's how deadly these submarines are, right? So they're very destructive, and it's an anti-China move, obviously. I analyzed this deal in much more detail on the Secular Jihadist podcast, which the public version of that podcast is going to come out soon, I think very soon. So just go on YouTube and subscribe to Secular Jihadist, and you're going to see basically the episode that we just did on United States foreign intervention. In the second half of that podcast, we analyze this deal. Me and Ali Ruiz, we analyze this deal. So we're going into so much more detail.
I would highly recommend. I learned a lot.
Yeah. So make sure you, and I think no, I don't think we did a better job at analyzing this deal than anywhere else I've seen. Okay, I brought up all the analysis, all the pros and cons, and the criticisms and the different takes on it. So if you want to see this analyzed better than anywhere else, make sure you look at, what was the name of that episode that we did on Secular Jihadists?
Should the U.S. intervene in other countries?
Should the U.S. intervene in other countries is the name of the episode, and this deal is brought up in the second half of that episode. Okay, so there's that.
Final patron question. Iana is asking, what do you guys think about speciesism? Should we advance other species of animals by brain implant chips to make them more intelligent? For example, using artificial intelligence. Should we give them equal rights as humans? It will be so much more productive if we can make a buffalo do the construction work.
Well, it sounds
Why
like
are you relegating
slaves.
these? Yeah, exactly. That doesn't sound like equal rights at all if you're just relegating them to do hard labor. This sounds like a major problem. Technically, I don't think that's what speciesism is. Speciesism is supposed to be like discriminating with favoritism towards one species versus another. So some people argue that the phrase like humanism is speciesist because it prioritizes humans over other species. This is a common, speciesism is a concern of many ethical vegans. So think the question of, you know, putting like modulated technology. Queen Fabi is saying, Aaron, Ion, this sounds like a furry. I am interested. Okay. Well, the question is, should we advance other species is different than the question of could we or will we? Should we? I
No.
think so at all.
Okay.
This seems
I
like
actually
only
think-
a source of a lot of problems and drama to me.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to give, I mean, actually, I don't. Okay. If you want to give artificial intelligence to anything, you would get it to something that doesn't have, is limited by an animal body, right? Like why would you put it in a buffalo where you could give it to a computer or something that's not limited by flesh, right? They would be like, I think I would be upset. Like if you manage to make artificial intelligence, and if I wake up at it as an artificial intelligence and I'm smart, and I'm going to be like, why did you put me in a freaking buffalo? I could have. Why did you put me in a buffalo? I could have been in something else. I could have I can't use computers. I can't search
I don't
the
have
internet.
thumbs, bro.
I can't write. I can't read books. Like, why did you pick this body for me? Like, why here? Like, this is the least ideal body for my intelligence. God
This
damn
is like
it,
an
right?
even more sadistic version of reincarnation.
Yeah, like this is like a
Right.
smart mind trapped in a body that can't take advantage of all the intelligence that you just gave it, right? So there's that. Also, I think you misunderstand speciesism. Speciesists argue that it's not intelligence that makes us deserving of rights, right? So you're saying so they're saying that animals deserve to have rights and their rights be protected regardless of their intelligence. They're thinking like this is like a very human-centric approach of deciding who deserves to be happy and who deserves to have rights, given that we're intelligent. So we have decided our superiority over in rights because we have that intelligence. Well, if we didn't have that intelligence, then we would decide who gets to have those rights. If we if an alien species came over and they had more intelligence and they would deny us rights because we're dumber than them, would we then be in favor of deciding who has rights based on intelligence? That's the argument speciesists makes, is that it shouldn't be based on intelligence. It should. Yeah, go on, Sus.
I think the argument is actually, why are we basing rights based on mastery over our environment? Because there are marine mammals there are many studies about dolphins or orcas, how intelligent they are. Their cerebral cortex is multiple times bigger than ours, leading many to believe that they have an emotional life and intelligence that is possibly beyond our conception. But this is a question I'll leave to science. So it's really over mastery over our environment, not necessarily intelligence, which is difficult for us to quantify in another species. Not possible.
I disagree. I disagree, because even the animals that have a lot of intelligence, it's just not comparable to ours. Like people are like, oh, pigs are smart, dolphins are smart. Yeah, they're smart, but it's nothing compared to how smart we are. Okay. And the argument species makes is like, okay, so if it should be based on intelligence, should humans with more intelligence have more rights than humans that are dumb? Like, what if you have a human that is as dumb as a cow? Should that human now have less? Like, they're just saying like it shouldn't be based on intelligence. And I agree. I think it should be based on our capacity to feel misery and happiness, right? I think any living creature that is capable of feeling pain and misery should be protected from feeling pain and misery. And every creature that is, like, regardless of their intelligence, and every creature that is capable of feeling happiness should be given the opportunity and the potential to experience that happiness. So it should be based on our capacity to feel pain, and happiness rather than our capacity to think. So I completely agree with that. But I'm still a species, not because of intelligence, but because of what different species care about. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, we're not going to give like dogs the right to vote, right? Like, like that makes like we are. I'm not saying that animals and humans and other animals should have equal rights. I am a species. I think humans should have a lot more rights, including the right not to be slaughtered and for food, but not because we're more intelligent, but because we care about things that animals don't. Is because what makes us miserable and what makes us happy is different from other animals. That's why we should have different rights, not because we're smarter. Does that make sense?
Yes, interesting argument. So that closes out our Patreon questions. Guys, remember to please like this stream, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Live chat questions. Great question by Mustafa. Hot take. LGBTQI plus religious people are as self-harming as Black Republicans. Thoughts? Or am I an a-hole?
No, you're not.
This is difficult for me because this is something I genuinely have a serious bias about, given my own experience as a bisexual person who grew up in a faith community. This is something I legitimately cannot understand, that I cannot reconcile. So the fact that there are LGBT religious people who have a sincerely held faith, and it's not like they participate in it for the familial or community aspects, which are social mandates that I understand. But this is actually a sincerely held belief. I can't. It doesn't make any sense to me. And because it just really, it makes my head go just. Are they as self-hating as Black Republicans? What do you think, Armin?
Okay, I have a hot take in response to your hot take. Okay.
Oh boy.
It's not LGBTQI plus religious people that are self-harming. It's religious people as a whole that are self-harming, that are supporting an ideology that is, because religion is not just anti-LGBTQI. It is more against that than other people, but it's anti-people as a whole. Okay, so, and also it's not just Black Republicans that are self-harming. It's Republicans as a whole that are self-harming, because again, Republican values is harming everybody,
Everyone.
not just Black Republicans. Okay, so yeah, but is it, like a lot of people say, like, I can't understand how could somebody be a woman and religious, given how anti-woman religion is. Like, I'm like, true, but I can't understand how could you be human and religious, given that religion is anti-human as well. I mean, I get it; it's more anti-woman and more anti-LGBTQ as well. But but this concept of you have to be against religion because it targets certain group of people. Well, it targets everybody, so everybody has to be anti-religion, and everybody has to be anti-Republican. Yeah.
Guys, a reminder that if you are asking your questions in the live chat, please tag Atheist Republic, because I'm going to ignore basically everything else. Murthad Skeptic is saying, if you could reprogram yourself to have any desire or want, or program in what were to satisfy you, what would you choose? And would you eliminate anything? Well, I would 150% eliminate my major depressive disorder and my generalized anxiety, my social anxiety disorder, my seasonal depressive. I would delete all of that. I think I would maybe keep my prior experiences of those things, because I think it informs a lot of how I treat other people with compassion and kindness. So I don't think I would want to eliminate the experience and wisdom I've gained through going through those things. But, you know, dealing with the fact that this is something I'm going to have to maintain and deal with and experience again and again for the rest of my life, like, is something I wish wasn't true, but it is. If I could reprogram myself to have any desire or want, I need more desire and incentive to work out more strenuously. I need more desire and incentive to be better about healthy habits. And I would program in more discipline, resiliency, and trying to eliminate avoidance of adversity.
Okay. I will remove my burnout rate from watching lectures and courses, right? So that it would be, so I wouldn't need to take breaks from, like, it would be as easy as watching movies, right? So right now I'm taking like lectures and courses on history and philosophy and religious studies and science courses, right? By the way, we got the affiliate link. We should start including that in our description, like at some point.
I need to set that up.
Yeah, so we got, like, the courses I take is on this website called Wandrium, formerly the Great Courses, and I'm learning so much from it. And it's just, I'm going through courses. It's just so fantastic. It's such a useful way to learn. It's better than books, okay? But like, when I take like 3 or 4 or 5 courses in one day, lectures in one day, at some point, like, it just burns out. Like, it's like I can't just keep doing it. Like, if there were movies, I would be able to just watch like endless number of them, but I can't do that with lectures. Like, at some point you're going to burn out, right? Like, if or even, you know, even with books, at some point, like, I wish I could, like, had no burnout rate. Like, I could just like read you know, books like as if they were all fiction and their stories, like, without any burnout, like, you know what I mean? So that would be make it like extremely pleasurable to just go through educational material, so I could just nonstop just consume educational material. I would make unhealthy food taste like crap, all right? And I would make healthy food taste 10 times more. Actually, no,
like
because at some
pure
point
dopamine.
no, actually, I wouldn't make a healthy food taste. Healthy food already tastes good to me. So I wouldn't make it taste even better, because I'm going to be bloated all the time. Even if it's low calorie, I would just constantly, I wouldn't be able to do my workout because I constantly just feel full, right? So I can't make healthy food taste too good. Healthy food could taste as good as it does, but unhealthy food has to taste like crap to me. That I would make it like that. I would make sexual desire have an on and off switch. You know what I mean? Because it's just distracting when it just hits you when you don't need it. You know what I mean? when you're trying to focus on other things, and it's just like, I'm not being productive anymore. And I wish it could just be like, okay, now is the time that I need this, and now I don't. I now need to live my life. Right? I need to do other things. And as soon as the opportunity comes and you're like, oh, this would be a good time for that to come back, you could switch it back on, right? And I wish I had an on or off switch, and you would just be able to have it when it's convenient rather than all the time.
That's so funny. A libido switch.
A libido switch.
We actually got some more patron questions as we were talking. So here's another patron question. Angel is asking, Armin, I watched an Indian YouTuber a few days ago who made fun of you over your recent tweet about incest and reply over father and daughter relationships. Would you please clear up your point? Thank you. Okay, first of all, Armin's been banned off of Twitter for almost a year, so it certainly wasn't recent.
Recent, yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to clarify what your position actually is?
Yes, the position that I have is in a very hypothetical situation that would not apply mostly to real life. Okay, so what I'm trying to what I was trying to demonstrate is the sources of morality, like to try to demonstrate where we get our moral standards from and where we should get our moral standards from, right? And to be able to highlight where our moral standards come from, I come up with examples that we find that we have a disgust reaction to, but we can't pinpoint the harm, right? And I try to play the game of, because when it comes, we are utilitarian, right? We believe in the utilitarianists. We believe in the utilitarian method of coming up with moral standards, and that means that we try to, when it comes to finding a moral code, we try to define things that are bad as things that are harmful, that things that cause misery and harm in society, and things that are good and okay are things that increases well-being and increases happiness, right? Wait, I'm gonna put you down so I can focus. All right, so I go and find things that are taboo that a lot of people completely consider wrong, and then I try to ask myself, well, where's the harm? And to see if we could isolate what the harm is, to see if we're considering something to be wrong just because we have a disgust reaction to it, or if there's actually a harm, right? So, for example, we take the example of incest, right? And we say, okay, this is what we consider wrong. And then I ask, why is this wrong? And people were like, well, it's wrong because the children from incest will be deformed. Will have they will have genetic issues, genetical, I don't know what it's called, deformities and stuff, diseases that are genetic in origin, and that would be very unfair to the child. And they're like, okay, let's keep trying to remove the reasons why this is harmful, and see if we keep removing them until all the harm is removed, are we only then having a disgust relationship to this, right? And is that the only reason why we're considering it wrong, right? So let's say, for example, there's incest, but it's between two brothers or two sisters, so they can't have any children. Or it's between a brother and sister, but the brother or father and daughter, but the man has got a vasectomy and there's no way for them to have a child. So the child limit has been completely reduced. Is it still wrong? And the answer is yes, it's still wrong for a couple of reasons. For example, power dynamics, right? Power dynamics. So in a brother-sister relationship, if you make this a norm that is okay in society, that you're opening the door to a lot of, for brothers or fathers to take advantage and use and abuse something that has now been allowed in society. So that's one. Power dynamics is one reason why this is wrong. Another reason why this is wrong is the psychological effects within a family relationship. When you have such a relationship between a father and daughter or a brother and daughter, the psychological impacts of that on, could be devastating, right? When they're growing up to each other, and that's, that could be potentially extremely harmful. So that's why that would be wrong, right? So again, then we go further. I see how we could eliminate that, because what I'm trying to say is like, okay, so we're against incest not because it's incest, but it's because of these other things, right? Because, for example, if we're against incest because of the children, the deformity in children, then any other relationship that would also result in that would also be immoral. So it's not the incest that is making it a bad thing. It's the consequences of it, right? So it's incest by itself inherently it's not wrong. It's the consequence that we're taking into effect, right? Because again, we don't want to judge something as immoral based on our disgust reactions, because then so many things that we find disgusting, then would be wrong as well. And I'm not going to tell you, for example, what, because a lot of people think I'm comparing something as if they're equal, and I'm not, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So let's see now, when it comes to the power dynamics and the family relationship that would be ruined, if we could come up with a hypothetical that will eliminate that, would then it be okay? So then I came up with examples. Okay, let's say a brother and sister have been separated from birth, right? And they have been. By the way, I'm only talking about adults, right? Like a lot of people don't understand this. When I'm talking father and daughter, I'm talking about a daughter who's an adult. I hope people understand that. And when I'm talking about, I don't know, brother and sister, I'm talking brother and sister who are adults. I hope people didn't assume anything else, because if you have, then you're sick in the head. But let's, for example, think about a brother and sister who have been separated as children, and they grew up separately, and they became adults separately, and now they find each other and meet each other, and now they're attracted to each other, okay? So this eliminate, and now like the brother gets a vasectomy, or a father and daughter who have been separated, the daughter is an adult, the father has a vasectomy, they didn't grow up with each other, and they were completely separate from each other, and now they're meeting each other, okay? So now you have removed the harm when it comes to having deformed children. You have removed the psychological effect of family relationships, because they're not even growing up with each other. And then you also remove the power dynamic harm, because they're both adults, and the brother was not like, the brother or father was not in a family situation where the power dynamics could be used as a way to take advantage of it. This is a grown woman or a grown man or whatever who has completely in control of their decisions, and all of those harms have been eliminated. In this situation, if you're still against it, what I'm arguing is if there's something wrong with this, then show me where the harm is. I'm not saying there's no harm. I'm saying if there is a harm, show me what it is, because now I have eliminated every harm. So if you're against it, you're just deciding what's moral and what's not moral based on your disgust reaction. So when people think like I'm just saying that, oh, therefore this should be okay, they don't understand that I'm talking about, like, I'm coming up with a hypothetical situation that is not normal in real life. Like, this is not, like, it's a very unique situation. This does what when I'm challenging people to see, like, okay, here's a situation that I have come up with a very unique hypothetical situation that has removed all the harms. Can you still find something wrong with this, right? And if you can't find anything wrong with this based on a utilitarian, standard of morality, then it should be okay, right? It's just a natural conclusion. And the reason why I'm very picky about making sure our morality is based on harm, rather than based on, the divine command theory or our gut, disgust reaction or appeal to nature, is because if our moral standards are defined based on harm reduction, then the obvious result of that is going to be less harm, right? And this is why I am finding examples of our moral standards being based on disgust to practice, to basically, as a utilitarian, to find these challenges for us to find the harm, to notice if we are finding things wrong because we find them gross or disgusting, or are we getting better at deciding what's good or wrong, what's good or right, right or wrong, based on us identifying what is the harm to society, and noticing it in ourselves, like, oh wow, I was against this, not based on harm reduction. I was just having an emotional reaction to this. And that's, so if you are a utilitarianist, then you will see that this is a good game to play to get better at finding the harm rather than just being emotional about things. So that's what I'm saying. Again, I could still be wrong about this. Like, if you're saying like, no, Armin is still harmful, okay, well, if it is harmful, then it should be wrong. That's not my point. My point is that whether it's right or wrong, it should be based on us identifying the harm. If you prove me wrong by showing me that there is actually a harm that I didn't take into account, you did prove me wrong, but you also proved me right, because then we're deciding that this is wrong because there's still because you identified a harm. That was the entire point. The entire point was not for me to prove to you that, oh, incest in this unique situation is right, because if you manage to defeat me by showing me that there is a harm, then you have proven to me that the utilitarian method works, because the whole point was not to base it on disgust, but based on harm. Does that make sense, Suze?
It makes total sense. It's basically for you in many ways a vehicle for a thought experiment or intellectual exercise or practice in, really picking apart where your sense of morality is coming from.
Yeah.
And specifically because it's so controversial that it makes such a good subject for thinking things through this way. But it's also why people lose their mind and use it to smear you.
Yeah. So, for example, the main problem, again, guys, when I say father-daughter relationship, I'm talking about daughter as an adult, okay? But the main issue, for example, with that is the power dynamics, right? That the father, if that's okay, that would create a situation where fathers would be groomed, like it could open the door to grooming the children as a way to then take advantage of them when they're adults. Right, so that's the issue with that. So the example I came up with is that they weren't even growing up with, like, the daughter even didn't grow up even with their father. To try to see if I isolate that, would it still be wrong? Okay, like they were completely separate from each other, right? But but think about what you're saying. The main issue that we have, for example, with why this is wrong is a power dynamic. So that would mean that, like, we would still have that an issue with a relationship like this if the power dynamic element was there, but they were not father and daughter. For example, if it was a teacher and a student, the power dynamic situation would still be there. Or if it was a boss, an employee, and an employer situation, right? So therefore, what we're actually against is taking advantage of power dynamic, not the incest itself. So what's making it wrong is the fact that there's a power dynamic imbalance at play, not the inherent nature of incest, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's not because of the incest that it's wrong. It's because of the power dynamic. Does that make sense as well?
Whoops, totally.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Wait, let me see if there's anybody in the live. Was there anyone in the live chat? No. Okay. I was just gonna see if there's any like negative reaction to this or not. Yeah. Okay.
Final patron question. Armin, what do you say about the earliest microorganisms from where all living beings evolved? Where did these microorganisms come from?
Okay, why? First of all, this is out. Why are you asking me though? Okay, first
I know that was my first thing. Why would you ask just any? I mean, it is Ask an Atheist Anything, but
okay. I mean, you can't ask me anything, but I'm just wondering. This information is out there, and I could just tell you the last thing I remember was the primordial soup theory was the most microorganisms. Yeah, that is the most accepted theory last time I checked, unless it has changed since the last time I checked. But but that's information is out there, right? So, like, okay, here, you could go read that. It's like primordial soup. Yeah, just go search for primordial soup. Is a generic term that describes the aqueous solution of organic compounds that accumulated the primitive water bodies of the early Earth as a result of endogenous abiotic. Anyways, this is everywhere. Like, so basically, the understanding is go look up the Miller experiment. This blew my mind when I was in school, right? So the understanding is that if you have organic material in water, given certain conditions, if you have inorganic material that has carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen in water, given certain conditions, you will eventually have organic material, right? And there was an experiment done by Miller that tried to recreate the Earth and the water on Earth recreate the conditions that the water was, the temperature, the sun, the ray of the sun, all the conditions that the earth was there, and try to see if given enough time would you be able to get organic material from non-organic material. And he proved that yes, you can. And that was like blew my mind, because I thought with the primordial soup theory you have shown how you could get cell structures, or like something that looks like a cell from organic material. So the only thing that was missing was how you could get inorganic material from organic material, and the Miller experiment showed that that's possible as well. Yeah, but the first things, once you have organic material on Earth, in the oceans, at some point you could go look at the theories of how this is happening. These organic materials are going to create something that looks like a cell. Like you're going to have the wall, like lipids are going to, you're eventually going to have lipids where it's going to form like these vessels that could contain things inside them. And when you have these vessels that could contain things inside them, it's going to be given enough time. Again, you could go look at these series, you are going to find something like a DNA or an RNA where it's going to be self-replicating molecules. So you're going to have basically the combination of self-replicating molecules and a vessel that could contain them, that could protect them from the outside environment, would be the first initial prototype of a cell, right? So these are the two elements that you need for you to have the first cell. So any molecule that could self-replicate, and any other molecule like a lipid that could create a vessel for it to contain that replicating material. And that's basically a cell, right? So once you have that from organic material, the replicating cell eventually is going to replicate enough for the vessel that is being containing it to eventually have to make room for two. And as soon as then you have that, now what you have is an organism. And that replicating molecule, for it to replicate, some other organic material has to be able to enter inside this vessel, which is technically the first eating. The first eating is happening. And the energy that is needed for that replication to happen is basically the first consumption of energy. And any side products that is created from that eventually has to leave that vessel, which is be the first poop ever made in history. But no, but again, it's actually
first eating. I was like, okay, whatever. First poop, legendary.
Anyway, but that's interesting, that all you need is for organic material to eventually create a vessel, which lipids do that perfectly, because lipids have this hydrophilic, water-loving side, and this water-fearing side, like a hydrophobic side and hydrophilic side, if I remember correctly. And that what that does is that it makes them create a wall, because there's going to be one side of them that is constantly going to point to water, and another side that is constantly going to run away from water. So the running away from water is going to be pushing towards each other, and the water-loving side is going to always be towards water. And then these next to each other will always create a wall, right? And again, this wall will eventually create a vessel where just by random, any self-replicating molecule like a DNA, that RNA that will also be made from organic material, will eventually make it into, and they're going to be a perfect match with each other. The vessel is going to be like, I got you. Here's your home. You just do your replicating. I'll just make sure that you can stay in this place. And they're replicating like, oh, I was like replicating before, but I was all over the place. Now that I'm here, I could just keep replicating in the safe environment. It's a safe place, right? For the self-replicating molecules to just keep replicating and then grow the vessel, and they go boop. Okay, so that's how it started. That's how it started. And now we're here because of all of that. And that's happening right now in our, everywhere. It's just replicating. That initial thing that happened is now happening as we speak, billions and billions of times every second in our body. Anyways.
I think this will be our last question tonight. So David is asking, does getting rid of religion really make things better? If you noticed, human beings just end up being religious about other ideologies or issues. They become cultish about other things as well. What do you respond to this, Armin?
If you notice, human beings just end up being religious about other ideologies or issues that become cultures. That is so wrong. Okay, so yes, it's kind of like saying that why should we? So let me just replace what your religion, okay, with untrue beliefs, okay, because we are fighting religion not just because it's religion. We are fighting religion because they are beliefs about the world that are not true. Okay, and when you look at religion that way, then you will see how ridiculous what you're saying will sounds like. Okay, so think about somebody saying this: why should we fight against untrue claims, given that people would believe other untrue claims? Well, because they would believe in less untrue claims, right? Like it's not
That's
a
my
binary
argument as well.
It's not, but it's not like on or off switch. It's not like, oh, okay, well, if we get rid of religion, people will have other cults. Well, yeah, but they have less harmful. Like the fight against harmful beliefs and the fight against untrue claims should not be abandoned, because once you get rid of some of them, there's going to be others out there. Because then, okay, well, you shouldn't do it. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, let's say, for example, you have an unhealthy lifestyle, right? You don't exercise, you eat pizza all the time, you drink alcohol all the time, and then I'm going to tell, like, hey, like, quit drinking alcohol. You're like, well, I mean, if I quit drinking this much, like every day, you're drinking alcohol every day, and I'm like, maybe start with stop doing that. I'm like, well, I don't exercise, and I eat pizza and burgers and fries all the time, anyways. So what's the point of not drinking alcohol, given that I'd already do all these other harmful things? Well, you would be,
oh my god,
which is like, it would be less harmful if you start with quitting drinking alcohol all the time, right? It would be less of a harm. Right? It would, okay. So again, like, let's say, like, the conspiracy theories that, let's say I can't say that word. YouTube is going to strike us. Think about any conspiracy, like the Q people. Okay, should we not, like, or the people who think that the election was, like, I don't know. Again, I can't say that either. God damn it, YouTube. I don't know what could get us a strike. Okay, any of the crazy beliefs out there that is not a religion. Okay, like, oh, here's a safe one: flat earthers, right? Like, let's say, like, some idiots are starting to believe in the flat earth theory. Do you not want to tackle that? Because if they don't believe that, they're going to believe something else that is stupid? No. Okay, you want to, just because you are not going to be able to get rid of all harmful beliefs all at the same time, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be try to at least remove some of them, right? That's my answer.
Well, David is saying the question wasn't should we do it or not. I asked if things would be better if we did. Yes. Well, because Armin answered that. It's if we do eliminate religion, there would still be some beliefs that are not religious, maybe in the same way we understand it now, but people are dogmatic. But so long as they are untrue, they will still be harmful. But ideally, we are getting closer and closer to a majority understanding or belief in what is objectively observable.
To me, those are the same questions. Like, the question they were saying, the question wasn't should we do it or not. I asked, would it be better if we did? To me, those are the same, because we should do the things that makes things better. Like, I wouldn't say we should do it. I mean, I wouldn't say, if I say we should, like, fight religion, it wouldn't be I wouldn't say we should fight religion unless it would make things better. Like, I wouldn't fight religion for the sake of just fighting religion. It has to make things better, or else I wouldn't suggest it. But yes, it would make things better. Okay, here's the thing: would the world be completely trouble-free without religion? No, there would be a lot, guys. Without religion, there would be wars. Without religion, there would be corruption. There would be greed. There would be backstabbing. There would be corruption. There would be cults. There would be a lot of harmful beliefs. There would be so much of it without religion. However, would there be less of it? Yes, there would be less of it. The world would have less corruption. The world will have less war. The world have less harmful beliefs without religion. It wouldn't eliminate all of it. It would just make it less prevalent. Okay?
Actually, plot twist. I have a question for you, Armin, very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of my criticism / going off on Harris Sultan at the start of this hour?
I think it was fair. I think it was very passionate. It was fair. I do disagree with you over the general take on the debate. I think overall the debate was very useful, and I'm glad that Harris Sultan, instead of responding to Daniel's attacks on modernity, decided to just keep highlighting the problems with Sharia. I think that was a smart choice that I wouldn't have made, and I think that's why Harris's strategy was better than mine. And overall, I think it ended up being better than if I had debated, because I would have spent a lot of time defending modernity, and that's what I'm doing in my analysis of the stream. So overall, I think he did better than I did. But your criticism of the first part of the stream, I think it was fair, and I made that criticism not as strongly as you did, and I think, but I did bring up that is I did mention that was like uncalled for and not the right tactic, and it was not a good look for Harris that he did that. But I do disagree that with your opinion that he did the whole debate was bad. I think that it was not only the whole debate was he did good. I think he did better than I would have.
I disagree. I think he would have done better. Well, I didn't even expand on my take on the entire thing. Like, as a whole, I do agree that his strategy was better in terms of just trying to focus on actually Sharia and not respond and not letting Daniel put him on the defensive. But I actually think he did the best job at that. He could have been way more pointed in his criticism of Sharia. I thought the better criticisms of Sharia were coming when the Q&A section opened up. Like, I didn't feel like Harris really started to get good until like an hour in. Like, there were so many opportunities to start hitting home specifics so much earlier than he actually took that opportunity to.
Right. Well, maybe it was one, because somebody could say like maybe it was good that he didn't do well at the beginning, so that more Muslims continue watching, thinking that their side is doing well. I don't know. Anyways,
Daniel. So they streamed it on Harris's channel, the Modern Day Debates channel, and Daniel's channel. Daniel's channel has over 150,000 views. Like, I don't think it would have mattered how things were going throughout the debate. Like, they would have.
That's my point. I'm glad that more Muslims watched the parts about Sharia. Anyways, we should, but anyways, that's my take. I think overall he did good. The first part was not very good. I agree with your points on the first part of it, but yeah. But I think now we have enough clips of Daniel talking about endorsing the horrible values of Sharia, like child marriage, wife beating, slavery, violence,
sex slavery,
women
not being able to refuse their husbands and having sex.
Yeah, and I think like I now want to switch focus on all defending modernity with all, because a lot of people are taking his attack on modernity very seriously, and I want to like actually tell people why modernity is actually really great.
You should debate him on that. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
I think that'd be actually never mind.
Celia is saying, can an ex-Buddhist be an atheist? Of course,
yes.
It could. But I want to answer to Cillian's previous question that he's not asking, he or she's not asking here. And I think somebody is constantly asking us if we are going to do blasphemous art on Buddhism, right? Because everybody keeps noticing the religions that we haven't covered yet. Like people are like, why are you not doing Judaism yet? And we have done Judaism. We covered Moses, right? People are like, why are you not covering Sikh? Are you like funded by Sikhs? And then like we have Sikh, we have done Sikh. And apparently now people are just have decided that we must be like, we're unable to criticize Buddhism because we're like, maybe atheists love Buddhism. And then I noticed like, oh yeah, we haven't done Buddhism. So I had this idea. Oh, by the way, I want to respond to Thomas Sheedy as well, given that he's here. But I want to announce here that one of our blasphemous art is going to be on Buddhism. And I told Susanna what my idea is, and I think this is genius. Okay. So and guys, by the way, if you want to see all our blasphemous art, you can get them for free if you're subscribed to our newsletter, link in the description. So here's my idea for doing a blasphemous art on Buddhism. Okay. So you know how in Buddhism, pleasure is going to stop you from achieving from nirvana, right? So from getting rid of this human body and getting out of this form and actually be fully enlightened. Like pleasure and happiness just keeps you in. At the end of the day, you have to like completely detach yourself from everything earthly, right? Including pleasure from food, pleasure from sex, and everything like that. And again, if you're a Buddhist, don't get triggered. Yes, I know you don't have to do that, but you eventually have to do that if you wanted to be completely enlightened, right? Like, it's not required, but it's suggested and it's good. And you eventually, if you want to be completely detach yourself from the cycle of reincarnation, that's what you need to do. So pleasure, bad, basically, right? So what my idea is to have Buddha trying to detach himself from pleasure by getting edged. Like he's tied up and somebody's edging him, and that would be the blasphemous art. And he's trying to practice, basically resist the pleasure, right? And I was thinking of who should be edging Buddha, and who did I pick, Susanna?
Aphrodite.
Obviously. And I think that was such a perfect match. The anti-pleasure religion with a goddess that is about sexual pleasure. Wasn't it the perfect?
At any time of the day, I think it's so funny. I get these messages from you with these ideas, and you're like, it's Buddha being edged, blah, blah, blah. And I just reply, incredible.
Weren't you like impressed with how genius this idea was? Like, it's such a perfect match, isn't it? Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's that. It's like, so religious stamina training. Yes, it's exactly that.
Oh my god. Yeah. So funny.
Anyways, let's answer. So that's coming again. If you want to, not literally coming, it's edging. So you don't. So actually, that's not coming.
The opposite.
That's the opposite of coming.
That's actually exactly what's not happening.
But if you want to see that not happening, then subscribe to our newsletters to make sure you get that art. But let's answer Thomas Sheedy's question before we.
This question?
Yeah, link to subscribing to our newsletter in the description. Okay, cool. Okay, Thomas Sheedy saying.
Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, hi, Thomas. Okay, do you want to read this?
Yes, Thomas is asking, do you both enjoy doing work for AR that is seen by many as boring? Budgeting, spreadsheets, office-like day-to-day work.
Oh my God.
There's so much administrative work that goes into running an organization that a lot of people don't know about or appreciate. And the answer is no.
No. I could tell you what. Well, I could tell you what has made it easier is doing it with Suze. So basically, like when I'm doing like administrative work, it's just like so boring. But me and Susie was doing these before, and she found it like painful to do. But we recently discovered if we do these tasks while we're hanging out together, it's just they become so much more fun, and we get we're talking about it together, we're spending time together, and that makes it so much easier to go through them. So that's what we recently have discovered, and we're doing that more. So
Yeah, it becomes a lot less intimidating.
Yes. I also want to answer this because this is like, I know he's joking, but I do want to answer it. Thomas Shidi is saying, what is your take on the amazing success of communism? He's trying to trigger me because he knows how much against communism I am, and he wants me to go on a rant on how bad communism is. However, instead of doing that, I'm going to take this opportunity as a way to on ranting on Thomas Shidi's people, on right-leaning people. Yeah, I'm going to say that. People? Well, because, okay, so communism fails every time. Yes, we know that. Communism sucks. But right-leaning people exaggerate on how successful actually communism is because they see communism everywhere, right? So this is like what, so basically here's the thing.
Instead I am against communism. Sharia, it's creeping Marxism.
It's creeping. So as bad as communism is, and I think, yes, it is gaining popularity in Generation Z, and that needs to be addressed. We need to meme it out of existence. It is a concern that communism is becoming more popular, but we shouldn't exaggerate how popular it's becoming. Okay, we shouldn't what a lot of right-leaning people are doing is their own version of the
Red Scare
that they see, that they think that communism is coming and taking over. It's not, and they seem to be calling everything that they don't like Marxist. Like, we could go, there are a lot of right-leaning people like, hey, maybe consider not being a bigot. That's like, they see that as Marxism. Like, hey, like maybe like if somebody wants to be use pronouns he or him, if that's what they prefer, maybe use that instead of like, oh, Marxism, creeping
or
Marxism.
just same-sex marriage, period. Marxism!
Oh, yeah, Marxism, yeah, like, so, like, I'm not like.
Meanwhile, communist regimes are notoriously brutal towards homosexuals. Okay.
Maybe we should teach children about the fact that racism is a thing. Like, oh, the CRT Marxism is taking over our schools. Like, no, that's just like. Maybe we should teach children that it's okay to be gay. Maybe we should maybe kids that are gay themselves would like to know that their existence is acceptable. Maybe that's a good thing. Oh, there's a critical race theory. Marxism is taking over. So there's this panic that is it's ridiculous. And but also the people who are pro-Marxist, they're also panicking on the other side, because every time I say that Marxism sucks and Marxism is wrong and communism never works, they think I'm doing the same thing. And I'm like, oh, everything you don't like is Marxism. Like,
no, it's actually, I don't like literal textbook
I'm talking
Marxism.
About literal Marxism. I'm not talking about people exaggerating and calling everything Marxism. I'm not one of those guys. I'm talking literally like actual communism. It'd be like, Armin, democratic socialism, countries that have democratic social democracies that are the best countries in the world. Like, yeah, I'm not talking about those countries. I'm talking about actual Marxism. God damn it. Like, you're all of you, every side, the left-leaning people, right-leaning people, you're all dumb. I don't know. No, actually.
What a big brain take. Big brain take is both sides would be dumb.
Both sides. I'm the enlightened centrist. I'm not a centrist. I'm a leftist. I'm kidding. No, but again, it's people in general. People in general are just dumb. But again, not everything is Marxist. Telling people to stop being bigots is not Marxism. However, actual Marxism is a real thing. It's not as popular as some people make it seem to be, but it is becoming a little bit more popular, and it sucks. It's horrible. It kills people. It starves people to death. So it's the worst way to run an economy, and it should. Oh, so here's another thing people say. Like, people tell me, like, Armin, why are you fighting Marxism and communism as if it's taking over? Like, I don't just fight ideas that are taking over, okay? If you have a bad idea, like if you have like flat earth theorists I will make fun of them as well, and they're not taking over. Okay.
Yeah.
If you believe, if you go and palm readers, right? I make fun of palm reading. I make fun of people who. I don't think that idea is taking over. I don't think that it's like. I'm not like fear mongering, like, oh my God, palm readers are taking over our economy and our politics. They're not, but I will still make fun of them. I will still tackle bad ideas. They don't. I'm not exaggerating how big of a. If I am like tackling communist ideas, I'm not exaggerating how big of an issue it is. I don't have to wait for it to become something that is taking over everything for me to be able to address how bad of an idea something is. Anyways.
I appreciate that Thomas can take the piss out of his own side, saying, "Boomer, you dirty commies, get your hands off my M69 420."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we need to edge for freedom. On that note, thank you for the questions, everyone. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everything in the live chat this week. There were a lot of questions, great questions. If we didn't address your questions, you can come back next week at the same time. Or if you want to make sure that we are contractually obligated, just kidding, to answer your questions, become a patron for as little as $1 a month. And when we post that we are going to be doing this live 24 hours, at least 24 hours beforehand, then you can ask your questions and we will be sure to answer it.
Yes, and I'm going to saying, Armin Navabi, why are you banned in India and Pakistan? Is there any chance you'll be banned in Saudi Arabia?
It's because he's too hot. Well, they can't stand it. He's taking all the women.
well, taking the goddesses at least. But we won't get to it here. We already covered this, but I'm going to use this question as a way to remind everybody to subscribe to our newsletter. We're being banned in multiple countries. Pakistan, India, Malaysia came after us. Their governments came after us. So again, we might be taken off of YouTube and Facebook, and we're already being taken off of Twitter. So to make sure that we can reach you, make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter. Again, we have gifts for you. We have free gifts for you in our newsletter. You get my book, Why There Is No God, for free, and you get our Blasphemous Art for free. So make sure that we can reach you by subscribing to our newsletter. Link in the description. All right, guys. Oh yeah, I did get a lot of compliments when I was on Destiny Unleashed. Thanks, guys.
Vash's chat was thirsty for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. All right, guys. Thank you, and talk to you guys soon, very soon, in 2 days when we cover the news. Same time. Subscribe and hit the bell button and like the video. God, if you haven't liked the video, what are you even doing? Are you even a supporter?